Okay, so India is in the middle of one of the biggest demographic shifts in its history. A huge silver wave is on the horizon, and that brings up a really big question. How is the country going to care for its rapidly aging population? The whole story really, it starts with this one single dramatic chart.
This one chart, it really tells the whole story. Just look at the red line. That's the total fertility rate. It's just plummeting, right? From almost 6 kids per woman back in the 50s to less than 2 today. Now look at the blue line. That's life expectancy, and it's just shooting up from 36 years to a projected 75. So what you have is fewer births and people living way longer. That, right there, is the great age wave in a single picture.
And what's the result of all that? Well, get this. By 2050, India is projected to have 319 million older adults. That's a fifth of the entire population. I mean, just think about the immense strain that's going to put on the country's healthcare and social systems. It's huge. Okay, so those are the big headline numbers. But what does this actually mean for individuals, day to day? Let's zoom in from the statistics and really look at the human cost of this aging nation. So, to really get a handle on this, we're going to look at something called the Longitudinal Aging Study of India, or LASI for short. It's this landmark survey that gives us a really clear and, honestly, pretty sobering picture of what life is like for India's elderly right now. All right, let's start with physical health. According to that LASI report, a staggering 75%, that's 3 out of every 4 seniors, are dealing with at least one chronic disease. Just let that sink in for a second. That means a constant need for care, for medicine, for support, every single day. And the challenges aren't just physical, they're mental too. We're talking 1 in 5 seniors, that's 20%, grappling with mental health issues. But here's the truly concerning part. The study found that the rate of probable depression is 10 times higher than what's actually being diagnosed. It's this massive, hidden crisis of silent suffering.
Okay, so now you've got these physical and mental health challenges. And on top of all that, you layer on this deep financial vulnerability. A shocking 78%, we're talking nearly 4 out of every 5 seniors, have absolutely no pension to fall back on. This lack of a safety net, it impacts everything, from whether you can afford your medicine to just having a basic quality of life.
And this chart right here really puts that precarity into sharp focus. Look at this. Only 22% have a pension. And even fewer, just 18%, have health insurance. So for the vast majority of people, this means they're financing their own care, often completely out of pocket, during the most vulnerable years of their lives. So with millions of people facing these kinds of challenges, what about the system that's supposed to support them? Well, this is where we start to see some pretty significant cracks in the foundation.
Now, to be fair, it's not for a lack of trying. As you can see from this timeline, India has been creating policies for senior citizens for decades. I mean, from pension schemes back in the 90s all the way to the National Action Plan in 2019. So the problem hasn't really been inaction. It's been fragmentation.
And that right there is the core issue that India's policy think tank, NITI pointed out. All these policies, they're well-intentioned, but they exist in their own little silos. They just don't talk to each other. So what does that mean in real life? It means a senior might be eligible for a small pension from one ministry, but then they can't access healthcare from another. There's just no single, guiding, integrated strategy. This lack of integration, it creates some really surprising hurdles. And one of the most unexpected ones? Taxes. Yeah, you heard that right. Taxes. Okay, what's so interesting here is just how complex this all is. So sure, services from a charitable old age home can be tax exempt, but only under very specific conditions. Meanwhile, a whole bunch of other essential services, things like regular medical monitoring or subscription-based care, they get hit with a hefty 18% GST. That adds a huge cost burden for seniors and their families. And believe me, the gaps go way beyond just taxes. You've got a huge infrastructure gap. Fewer than 500 districts even have old age homes. Then there's the social gap, right? We're seeing a shift to smaller, nuclear families, which means less of that traditional care structure. But maybe the most telling gap of all is awareness. A really important law designed to protect seniors was passed way back in 2007, and today, only 12% of them even know it exists. Just 12%. Okay, so the challenges are pretty clear. The system is fragmented and there are big gaps. But what's the path forward?
Let's pivot from the problems to the solutions, a blueprint for what a new era of senior support could look like. A huge part of this new vision is about professionalizing the whole idea of care. See, the future isn't just about building more homes. It's about building a workforce that's highly skilled, that's certified, and that's compassionate. Actually ready to meet the really complex needs of this aging population.
So, the NITI Aayog blueprint really rests on 3 core pillars that are all designed to work together. First up, integrate health services. Make it one seamless system, from preventive care all the way to palliative services. Second, enhance the skilled workforce. Create that trained group of professionals we were just talking about. And third, foster digital inclusion. Basically, use technology to make sure seniors aren't left behind.
And this plan gets really specific, which is great. The National Institute of Social Defense lays out these targeted training programs. We're talking everything from specialized dementia care and geriatric counseling to digital literacy outreach programs. The goal here is to create a whole new generation of caregivers who are actually equipped for the realities of modern senior care.
Okay, so this massive demographic shift we've been talking about, it's easy to see it as just a challenge. But here's the thing, if it's managed the right way, it's also a colossal economic and social opportunity.
And this opportunity has a name. It's called the silver economy. So what is that? Well, it's basically the entire market of products and services, everything from healthcare and technology to housing and entertainment, all designed specifically to meet the needs of people over 60.
And the scale here is already just staggering. Check this out. Back in 2020, just the market for home healthcare in India was worth over $6.2 billion. And that's just one slice of this pie. As the senior population grows, this entire economic sector is basically set to explode. So, what's driving all this growth? Well, it's the very same needs that we identified earlier in our talk. That's 75% of seniors with chronic diseases that's fueling a massive boom in home care services. Health technology is expanding like crazy with things like wearables and remote monitoring. And you're seeing new insurance products and holistic services, like those based on traditional Ayush medicine, all popping up to innovate and fill these critical gaps. Which brings us to our final big picture question. As 319 million Indians head into their senior years, the nation is really at a crossroads. It's clear that it has to move beyond these fragmented policies and reactive measures. So the real question is, how will the country redefine care itself to make sure there's dignity, security, and well-being for its oldest generation?